What if you could just skip traffic? I mean, all of it. Imagine summoning a quiet electric air taxi to just hop across the city. It sounds like something straight out of a movie, right? Well, this new way of getting around is actually a lot closer than you might think. And honestly, it's about to completely change how we move.
So, this thing right here, it's called an eVTOL, and it really represents a radical new chapter in aviation. Today, we're going to break down exactly what these incredible machines are, how they work, and, what it's going to take to get them off the drawing board and into our skies for real.
All right, here's how we're going to tackle this. We'll start with the big picture, this new era of aviation. Then, we'll decode the name, what eVTOL even means. We'll look at the electric revolution that makes it all possible, see what we'll actually use them for, and finally, check out the road that's still ahead.
Okay, so to really get what eVTOLs are all about, you first have to understand the bigger idea they're a part of. It's this concept called Advanced Air Mobility, or AAM. Just think of it as a whole new playbook for flying, using these amazing new aircraft to completely transform transportation.
So, let's get right into it. The eVTOL. What exactly is it? Well, the name itself is basically the perfect blueprint for what it does.
It's pretty straightforward, really. eVTOL stands for Electric Vertical Takeoff and Landing. So in simple terms, it's an aircraft that can go straight up and down, just like a helicopter, but, and this is the key part, it does it with clean electric power. That vertical ability is what lets it operate in cities without needing a giant runway.
And these three things are what make them such a game changer. First, they're electric, which means little to no emissions. Huge deal. Second, they are so much quieter than helicopters. I mean, dramatically quieter, which is absolutely crucial if people are going to accept them in cities. And third, they're built from the ground up to be highly automated, which promises huge leaps in safety and efficiency.
Let's put this side by side with something we all know, a helicopter. A chopper uses a loud, gas-guzzling engine to power one big, super complex main rotor. An eVTOL, though, it uses electricity to power a whole bunch of simpler rotors. And that one fundamental difference is what leads to all the benefits. It's quieter, it's cleaner, and, as we're about to see, it's a whole lot safer.
So what's the secret sauce here? What is the core technological leap that suddenly made all these futuristic aircraft a real possibility? Well, it all boils down to one concept that has completely rewritten the rulebook for how you design an aircraft.
And that leap is called Distributed Electric Propulsion, or DEP. Okay, so instead of one big engine connected to propellers with a bunch of complicated gears and shafts, DEP lets you just send electrons from a power source to a bunch of different electric motors. And you can put those motors anywhere you want on the aircraft. It totally frees designers from the old mechanical headaches.
And this isn't just my take. As aviation expert Graham Warwick puts it, this tech unlocks designs that were just impossible even a decade ago, because the mechanics were a total nightmare. Engineers are now actually dusting off ideas from 50 years ago that failed because they were too complex. With DEP, those ideas suddenly work. Now here's the really crucial point. This is not just about cool-looking designs. Having all those independent motors gives you incredible redundancy. Think about it. If the single engine on a small plane fails, you have a massive emergency. But if one of an eVTOL's, say, 8 or 12 motors fails, the others just pick up the slack. We have never, ever had this level of safety built into small aircraft before.
Okay, so the tech is revolutionary, we get it, but what does it actually mean for us, for our daily lives? Let's move from the engineering to the real-world impact. What are we actually going to do with these things?
Well, the possibilities are kind of endless. We're talking about everything from on-demand air taxis that could completely change your commute, to delivering packages and cargo, all the way to really vital public services like disaster response, helping out on farms, and even police search and rescue.
Let's take a really powerful example, medical emergencies. There's this concept called the golden hour, that critical window to get a patient to a hospital. In a lot of rural places, it can take way longer than that to get help. An eVTOL can just fly over traffic, over tricky terrain, and potentially turn what would have been a fatal delay into a life saved.
This all sounds amazing, for sure, but it brings up a really practical question. When these things finally launch, is this going to be for everybody? Or is it going to be another one of those cool technologies that starts out as a luxury for just a few people? And the reality is, like with most brand new tech, it's not going to be a mass market thing right away. The first people to use them will probably be premium airline passengers, using eVTOLs as a fancy shuttle service to get to and from the airport, skipping all the traffic to make their flights.
The hope is that this initial market proves the whole idea works and helps drive the cost down over time for the rest of us.
So, we have the technology, we have the vision, but the path to a sky full of eVTOLs isn't exactly a straight line. Let's take a realistic look at the major hurdles still ahead.
There are basically 4 big ones. First, batteries. There's still a major limit on how far these things can fly. Second, we have to actually build the places for them to land, the so-called vertiports. Third, you need a whole new system to manage all this air traffic, plus new regulations. And finally, and this might be the biggest one, the industry has to earn public trust by proving these things are incredibly safe.
Let's just zoom in on that battery issue. Right now, a fully electric eVTOL is limited to pretty short trips. We're talking about 50 miles, give or take. Now, that's perfect for a hop across a big city, but for longer trips between cities, it's just not enough. That's exactly why a lot of companies are also working on hybrid electric versions to bridge the gap until batteries get a whole lot better.
But here's the thing, none of these challenges are seen as deal breakers. The general feeling is that as the tech gets better, as the rules get written, and as they start building these things at scale, the costs will come down. And when they do, this whole new era of cleaner, quieter, and smarter air travel is really going to take off.
Ultimately, what we're talking about is being on the cusp of unlocking the third dimension for our everyday travel. And that forces us to ask a really fundamental question about how we live. If we make flying from point A to point B this easy and accessible, will we start building our future cities up instead of just sprawling them further and further out? The answer to that is going to shape our world for generations.